Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Diablo video, and today I'm going to show you a really awesome method to farm full 800 eye level gear on all your characters in Season 1. This is something that you can do in literal minutes and pretty much deck out all your characters, including alts if you're thinking of doing that. Now, this farm entirely relies on farming Varshan, the new boss in Season 1, on repeat all day long. Well, not really all day long, just a few runs is all you need because this boss guaranteed drops 800 eye level gear. It doesn't even matter if they are even sacred quality, these are also going to be 800 power level for some reason. So everything it drops is going to be with the max possible roll on it. Now, to even get to this boss, you will need his special invoker, the Invoker of Varshan, and you already get one by default by simply following the main story of Season 1, and this is going to drop for you automatically at some point once you defeat the boss inside of that main campaign. This is going to give you just the regular Invoker. We will now have to upgrade this to the Foul and then finally to the Torment version of it. So to get the Foul version, which is the second one, you need to first craft the initial that you get from the main story and then go and defeat Varshan in World Tier 2. If you go ahead and do that, this is going to drop the Foul Invoker of Varshan recipe as soon as you defeat that boss. So with this, you can go ahead, click it in the inventory to learn it, and then head over back in the main town and go ahead and yes, this is going to let you now craft the Foul version. This also needs about 50 sigil powder to craft, so go ahead and just complete a bunch of nightmare dungeons and maybe even consider scrapping some of the sigils that you don't use anyway, and you should have about 50 in no time. But do keep in mind that all the recipes will also require the basic version of the Invoker of Varshan anyway, so do keep that in mind. Now, before proceeding, also make sure that you are in World Tier 3 or have switched to Nightmare mode so that you can proceed to the next step, which is to again refarm Varshan, but this time around in World Tier 3 and using that Foul Invoker to summon him. And once you defeat him again, this is now going to drop a final recipe for the Tormented Invoker of Varshan, or basically the World Tier 4 variant of him. And with that, you're pretty much set. You have all you need, you have the recipe, but this will require, on top of the basic invoker, also a bunch of the items from the Hell Tides. So this includes 5 Forgotten Souls and 5 Fiend Roses, but these should be easily acquirable if you complete Hell Tides every single day. But with that out of the way, it's time to go over the farm, and obviously you can choose your specific spot if you want to, but not all Malignant Tunnels will spawn the boss. One of the best that's being used right now is this one right here called the Ravening Pit, which is very close to a couple of waypoints. If you cleared the strongholds to the east, you can just use that waypoint over there, but otherwise you can also use the Girandai waypoint from the village and go there as well. This is actually a pretty fast and easy one to complete. There's only a couple of elites that you have to defeat before moving into the final room, one of which is also going to contain the boss room itself. So once you get to the divergent path, one leading to the Malignant and other one to the boss, go ahead and pick the boss and go inside of it. And then simply use that Tormented version of the Invoker to summon Varshan and go ahead and defeat them. And if you defeat them, as you can see, it constantly drops 800 power level items no matter what. And it has a pretty good chance at legendaries too, so you can get tons of ancestrals, get tons of legendaries, maybe even have a chance at uniques like how I did and got an 800 plus item level, even though it's not really that useful for me. But otherwise, in terms of the boss fight, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, so I suggest having at least level 65 when you attempt this, unless you have a really strong build that can take it down. And that is because this boss actually has quite a lot of resistances, a lot of defenses, also has a shield, and it can be pretty annoying in terms of the damage it deals if you are too squishy. I suggest to also take down the ads once they spawn because it just buffs the boss and they are pretty annoying. And I also suggest to circle around the boss when you see those AoE effects happening on the whole arena. If you do that, you should be able to stay out of trouble and take it down in no time. Now, as soon as you're done with the fight, go ahead, collect everything in your inventory and use the function to teleport at the entrance of the dungeon outside of it. From this point on, either go ahead and reset the dungeon so that you can begin a new one, or just exit the game to the main screen, enter again, and this should do an even better job at that. But once you're back, you're going to want to again rinse and repeat, go to the boss room and defeat him again. Do however keep in mind that this is going to use the next invoker until you defeat it, and so on. Now, the best thing about this farm is that even if you fail at this boss, if you don't have enough damage, or if it just completely wipes you out because of the high damage that it deals, you don't have to worry about losing the invoker that you used to cast this boss in the first place, because you're going to get it back immediately once you resurrect near the shrine or even near the room behind the boss room. So basically, you can go ahead and attempt this, see if it works for you, see if you can do it at a lower level. If not, just come back later and you should be capable of doing so. But I'm not sure if this is the intended effect that Blizzard wanted, because it seems that sacred quality items also get eye level 800 for some reason when they drop from this boss. So I'm pretty sure that eventually we are going to see in Blizzard fashion another nerf to this loot farm. Yeah, because that's what Blizzard does these days. That is why I recommend to go ahead and do this as soon as possible before it gets removed or nerfed or something else happens. But otherwise, Malignant Tunnels right now are definitely worth it, not just for the XP and leveling stage early on before level 50, but even more so after level 60, because this is the main way to get those Malignant Hearts on top of the ones that you get from the boss itself. And these are actually super strong, but there's also a really good chance for many of the elites that spawn inside of these Malignant Tunnels to also drop some of these Wrathful Hearts instead. So like this one that I just got, it makes my core and basic skills to have a chance to fully restore my primary resource. And actually this could be very good for my rogue build right now, and maybe like get a ton of like resource generation so that I can spam my abilities more. It also gives me some barrier, and it also makes me gain additional attack speed. It does, yes, cycle through these effects every 20 or so kills, but it is one of the best Wrathful Hearts that you can get right now, even for the rogue class. Obviously, you will want some of the other hearts too, like in the example of the rogue, the blue or the brutal ones seem to have some of the strongest effects, at least in the leveling stages. We already talked about a couple of them yesterday, one which taunts enemies and distracts them from you as you're dealing tons of damage around them, but also another one that absorbs the damage that is dealt upon you, and then you can unleash it in a massive AoE damage explosion. Mostly, we're interested for the damage mitigation and damage prevention here, so even just half of them already work perfectly for the rogue class. And yeah, this is pretty much it with the farm. Let me know down below what was the best item that you got from this, and I'm gonna see you guys in the next video.